All right, everyone. Well, welcome back to the Invest in Yourself podcast. Today, I got a new little mini series I think we're going to do with these two guys, and maybe Chicky will join us eventually later. But this is very exciting. These guys are bookmakers, bookies, whatever you want to call them. But, they were underneath the mafia, and John was in the Chicago area. Tommy was in the Jersey area. So we're going to get into their story and what went into daily bookmaking and loan sharking and how they collected their money, some guys that they may have been around, stories they've heard. So it's going to be a really good story. I think, John, we'll start with you, man. Give a little background on yourself.
I'll put the pressure on me. First of all, I want to challenge Tommy to a cage match
Oh,
because we're going to finally settle this Chicago, New York thing over here. I'm kidding, Tommy. All due respect, my friend. I
I
thought
love
I'd
it.
start it off with a little joke. I know Adrian would get a kick out of it.
That's great.
But I'm just a Greek kid from Chicago who got, offered a job with the boys, as we call them. Some people would refer to them as the outfit. Back in 1981. Um, from there, a couple years, I went on to play college baseball at the University of Illinois Chicago, which is rare. As I told you in the past, Adrian, the guy said, "What are you nuts? You got a good gig here."
Yeah.
But other than that, I that was 12 good years of my life. Since then, I've moved down to Sarasota, Florida in '95, and kind of ended my Chicago bookmaking career. So I'm older than Tommy,
Yeah,
but I
there
think
you
he's a little
go.
more respected and more well known than I am. So I'll pass it off to Tommy.
All right, guys. Tommy Stigs here, born in North Jersey, Newark, New Jersey. Grew up in an area called Belleville, New Jersey. Was overloaded with organized crime figures, families, all different types of guys. I found myself involved in this probably in 11th grade in high school, senior in high school, starting to get this, the football tickets and all that other stuff. And then fast forward from 86 to around 95 ish is when I wrapped it up after taking a pinch for gambling and loan sharking. And that's basically that part of me.
Yeah. I mean, you guys both were in two different areas, but same kind of background, same kind of deal. I mean, you weren't involved in the heavy violence or anything like that. I mean, you guys were just strictly bookies. So that's why I thought it'd be interesting to bring you guys on and really talk about what it was like, the daily life that went into it. I mean, when you first started, I'm sure it was a little different from when you got a routine down. So I think, John, if you want to tell us what it was like when you first got into it, and then
It
we'll
was
go into daily life.
sure, sure. It was overwhelming. I was 18 years old. I walk into the warehouse. This is an operation where they decided to keep, you know, a bunch of guys in one room with clients all over Chicago. Of course, there were independent guys that paid the tribute, street tax, whatever you want to refer to it as. But it was, overwhelming. But as they say, I did my work. I advanced slowly. Being a Greek kid, I knew I'd never be involved in the upper echelon of that life. But I was never asked to whack anybody, and just answer the damn phone, Greek. Um, and by 26, I moved up to what they would consider now to be line manager. And watch the boards. Everything was handwritten.
Yeah.
Everything was recorded. Tom, you remember those realistic recorders
Wow.
with the tapes? We tape
Oh
all
my
conversations,
goodness.
and it was, it was just a very interesting beginning to a career that we can get into a little more as we go.
Yeah.
What about you, Tommy?
Yeah, just the element. I grew up in the environment of it, but I will have you know, I have no interest in sports. I never have. Strictly a business for me.
Wow.
So when you say the lineman part, so I'm manning phones, odds are -7 Giants. We got too much action, -7 on the Giants. Line three, drop it down to 6.5. Line four, go up to 7, juggle the line. So for me, got involved in it out of survival, and obviously the element was there. And yeah, that's basically the start of it. That's the start of it. So
Mhm.
introduced to it, not really. Grew up around it, so it came natural. It was only natural for us guys to get involved in this type of stuff. But I did not do it out of glamour, as many my age may have. I did it out of survival. My mom was a single mom, so I got into it that way.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of different reasons people get involved with crime and stuff, but I mean, when you grow up in it and your family's struggling and stuff, I mean, you see why some of these guys they go and do this, and then they ended up making it into like something. They keep on going up on the scale when they should have pulled back at a certain point. You know what I mean? Because they go on and they start killing people and all kinds of stuff like that. So, luckily, in your guys' cases, you guys didn't have to get involved with all that, but you know, you still had a pretty long career, both of you, in bookmaking and stuff like that. So what, John, when you got to the point when you you were at the manager level when you were 26 years old, what was that like daily?
I just, everybody got along. There was a few guys that were jealous. I have to just mention, Tommy. I mean, Tommy, I know your story, and it was a difficult life. It was almost meant to be your route. I grew up in the suburbs, but all the guys that I went to school with, their fathers were involved in the outfit. And
Huh?
so when I say introduced to it, Tommy, I was going to the Maywood Park for harness racing when I was 16, 15
Yeah,
years old with my
sure.
uncle. My uncles were degenerate gamblers. My father was a lawyer, but he's a pretty frugal guy and he's a tough guy. And
Oh,
the Greeks and the Italians in the neighborhood, they live next door to each other. It's
yeah.
the Greek neighborhood, the Italian neighborhood. So my father grew up with guys like, his friends, Gus Alex, the
Mhm.
but I get the New York guys. Tommy's story is not too different, and um, that's one thing that we could do a show on that. The difference of growing up Italian in or Greek in New York, New Jersey, and growing up in Chicago. There's quite a difference, Tommy,
Yeah,
because a
Yeah,
lot of my friends. I'm 59 years old. A
yeah.
lot of my friends grew up with their fathers being bosses. They're driving brand new vets and
Right,
everything else.
right.
And so these guys had more of a charmed life. Tommy comes from the hardcore area. I mean, not area, but the hardcore elevation of the life. And
yeah,
so, hey, I. always say I was lucky, you know.
Mhm.
It was almost the doors were open for me. So, and Tommy had to make his bones. So
Yes.
there's a difference, as far as now the old timers, they all were the same. Tommy, that the old timers,
Yeah, yeah,
they came
absolutely.
from dirt,
Yeah. Oh, yeah. My story, I'm a generation behind my actual generation
right?
because my friends were all, I was in a neighborhood where everybody was semi-suburban,
Yeah,
on the outskirts of Newark, New Jersey, where they moved from the inner
yeah,
city into this area called Belleville, New Jersey, where the kids in my neighborhood were all blue collar or a little bit higher. And
yeah.
then here's me. My dad left, and it was just my mother trying to at least get a nice pair of sneakers. You know what I mean?
yeah,
And
No, I was
that's
no, it was tough. I was no, I understand, Tommy, and a lot of guys that I work with were from the same thing. I when the Chicago area, I grew up in Park Ridge, which borders the city of Chicago.
okay.
So the guys that I grew up with didn't live too far,
All right.
and their fathers made sure they lived just outside the city,
That's right there.
but most of their business was done
Sure,
inside the city.
sure, absolutely.
But you know it. The cops were paid off. The local cops, most of them. I mean, when I worked at the warehouse, taking bets, there was 20 something other guys in there, phones, trucks. It
Full
smelled like
operation. Full
yeah, it was
operation.
it was just it's just the typical boiler room operation.
Yeah.
Couple Chicago cops off duty out front watching out. The only thing I always say it was the G, the feds, as Tommy would know,
Yeah.
the government.
Yeah.
Those guys, you couldn't really get into those guys,
Yeah.
to those guys. They wouldn't
yeah,
take the money. Most. I've read some things in recent days, crooked feds.
Yeah.
Of course.
they're out there. They're out there.
They're out there, right, Adrian? Of course they're. I want to add one thing, guys.
Yeah,
Just
go ahead.
Adrian, we didn't mention this, but the guys that will be on this panel, myself and John, and obviously Chicky at one point, maybe on a later episode, we all got out of this life the right way, the legitimate way. There's
Yep.
nobody that turned informant. There's no rats on
No.
here. There's none of that. So you got three guys. Adrian wanted to put this nice little segment together with three guys that were able to turn their lives around in a positive way, in the right way. I just wanted to
Yes.
add that to this. Yeah.
Oh, absolutely, Tom.
Yeah.
That's the one thing I read about the rats, and as you refer to them, that's what they are. They're rats.
Yeah. Right.
You came in, you knew this was part of the deal, is that you kept your
Whatever it
mouth shut,
is.
and listen, if you had to take a pinch, which you did, you
Yeah.
took it like a man. You
What?
come out. Hey, from what I see, and I'm familiar with your brand and everything
Yeah.
else, you're at work in the morning, working your ass off. I saw bottles in one
I know.
factory
Yeah.
line. I see medical supplies. I see
Yep.
cookies. I mean,
I'm
talk
everywhere.
about getting legitimate. I mean, that's as legit as you can get.
4 o'clock in the morning on the job every day.
I got a lemonade stand out in front of my house. I mean, I got to get to your level.
So the goal is to rewrite history, not repeat
Yeah,
it.
And you know
exactly.
what? You have. Congratulations to you, because you know what?
Thank
I
you.
mean, I respect you
I appreciate it.
and I'm not just
Yeah. Yeah.
saying this, but I
I
respect you for what you've done, man. You turned your life around and
Yeah.
become a success at the same time.
It's crazy.
Yeah,
It is
no,
crazy.
that's why I wanted to bring you guys on. I mean, the whole point of the show is having a good redemption story, investing in yourself, and giving your guys' background. I mean, you guys were in crime and stuff, but now you're out of it, and you can care less about what's going on with them and today in crime and all that. I mean, it's
Yeah.
just
I read the stuff, just for
Yeah.
entertainment purposes, but you know what, where we came from was a different era.
yeah.
Different.
These guys nowadays are amateurs as far as Tommy and I are
Can you
concerned, right,
imagine?
Tommy?
Yeah. Can you imagine today? Forget it.
Oh, forget about. Well, you know what? One thing is, I'm a little bit envious. They have no bond in Chicago now. So if I were to return to the
Oh,
criminal life, with no bond,
no bonds.
what can I rip off? I mean, what can I
Oh,
do? I mean, I can get a
oh,
no.
it's
I wouldn't do that. I
crazy.
have a family. I'm just saying that
I know.
there's a problem. Houston, we have a problem, and it's not in
Yes.
Houston. It's in Chicago.
It's everywhere.
so, so
Everywhere.
so John, what when you got to that level, you were a manager and stuff. I mean, what did it look like? Like, what was your daily task? Because how many people did you manage?
About 20, anywhere from 25, depending on the season. Baseball season was a lot lighter. Tommy will
Yeah.
attest to that. Baseball
Sure.
season, when you didn't see much action coming into
Oh,
sports.
yes.
Football season, that's what I concentrate on. Not con- Yeah, I concentrate on
Football.
now, and it's big. You can beat these numbers if you're sharp. You catch a weak number. These sports books are getting sharper. You got guys coming out of MIT and Stanford and working in the trading room, what have you, for these big companies. And we were just a bunch of guys that liked doing what we were doing, made good money. But
Yeah.
my tasks were, making sure the count was right at the end of the day.
It
I
was
had a couple
exposed.
other guys that helped me that I trusted. We never got ripped off. We were all carrying guns. You know, back then. You kind of had to, you're walking around with hundreds of thousands of dollars after, not,
Crazy.
after picking up on a Thursday or Wednesday. Tommy knows the drill. You got
Yeah.
to go pick up. We didn't do many drop offs. We did a lot of pickups. You know,
Yeah. So
I
what
don't want to
about
ruin anything for everybody. Sports betting's great, but
Yeah.
but bet, be responsible.
Yeah.
yeah? What
Yeah.
what about you, Tommy? What was it like when you got to, I suppose, your highest peak in daily life?
Highest peak, I would say I had 45 direct gamblers right under me as
Mhm.
I was their agent, and then about 6 other package handlers under me, which had their. So I would say around 100 guys, approximately
Damn.
100, give or take.
Yeah.
100 players,
Mhm.
uh, and I would just have to manage it. And it is a hustle. It is a grind. It is a job. There's no doubt about it. Because that run now it's all different. Electronics. We were physical. You could call us laborers, John, so to speak. I mean, we're laborers in the
We were-
sport, in the what do you call it? In the job. And we were laborers. Today it's not laborers. It's electronic and this and that. We were physically there, and as you were saying before, watching the line. Lining the being on the line basically, and then following all this action. So the daily of it was an actual physical grind. But the rewards were, I'm not going to say the rewards weren't there for the work, but just a daily grind.
It
But
was,
enjoy it.
Tommy. It was right. It was a daily grind. It was tiring. And to this day, I feel that in a couple weeks I'm going to be 60 freaking years old. I can't believe it. I'm like,
Can you
what?
imagine doing that now?
No, no, because you
No
know
way.
why? Because now all these street guys, and listen, let's not kid ourselves. We live in America. We know there's guys out there that guys, they do nothing about it. They're mixed. Their mother's Polish, their father's Irish. I mean,
Yeah, the
it's
culture.
not this La Casa Nostra, Chicago outfit, New York Five family deal anymore. It's
Nope.
actual, just regular people that have websites, that
Yeah.
have their friends as agents, and you go on there. You don't have to do anything. It's crazy.
Right.
Like Tommy said, it's
Yeah.
changed dramatically from when we were doing it.
Right.
Yeah.
So in short, Adrian, it was labor.
Yeah.
Labor.
Entering in.
Enjoyable, but we loved it. Enjoyable labor, but definitely labor. And I cannot see being a 60, 70-year-old bookmaker. I could just can't see it.
No.
just too stressful. Huh? So much work that goes into it. Yeah, and I mean that's what's different. I mean, it sounds like with the technology and stuff, people have really advanced and can now run a whole operation by themselves electronically. I mean, I don't know
The
if you
funny
guys keep
thing
up
is,
with
it's
it.
so true. But the funny thing is, Tommy, look at it nowadays. From when we were working our asses off, and we were like you said, it was a grind. But now look at what's happened. Sports betting legalized, marijuana in most states legalized. The next thing we're going to see, prostitution legal. I mean, it's like every
Yeah.
vice that these gentlemen, these businesses were in, the government took over because they were so lucrative.
Yep.
So
they got to get their cut.
Who's the crime family now?
Yeah, no, I hear you, man.
That's a good way to put it.
Yeah. So, going into the next thing is the clients and everything that you guys ran. You guys usually made a pretty good. Either way, if they lost or they made money, you would still get a vig. Is that correct, John?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, that's what we lived off of. And baseball season, although we didn't have a lot of clients, I think we were talking about a little bit about before the show. I was talking to Tommy. Those people would be laying 2-1. Sometimes it'd be 2-1. I saw it this year. Braves, I think it was -2.5 runs. You'd see that back in the day. You get the run line now, it's a run and a half. But yeah, the vig was everything. But in all honesty, I'll be transparent now, and they let me have a few of my personal guys that I knew were losers, and I was going to collect from every week. They kind of gave you a little leeway, make sure we make our money, and you can make a little money too. Plus, I got paid.
Yeah.
But yeah, listen. We thrived on losers.
Yeah. So you would take 2 or 3 guys, and you held the action.
I did hold the action only because it was okay. It was okay. Tom, you got to know my uncle's wife. Her brother was the gambling boss in Chicago, so I got some what they call consideration.
Okay.
Joe Spadavecchio. He's been gone for a long time.
Okay.
He was the boss, basically, with Don Angelini, the Wizard of Oz. You know the name.
Yes.
He went out to Vegas after the demise of the Spilatro brothers. Don Angelini, after he got out of prison, he's been dead since 2000. He went out to Vegas and continued on with the skim, but he was a hell of an odds maker. And I got many opportunities. My father grew up in basically the same neighborhood. He was born in 1926. My father was born in 1927. So, you had that.
So you get opportunities because of the connection, but it's not typical.
No, it's not. No, I come from a very, you know what, Tommy, until about 2019, nobody knew what I did for a living. I had a no-show county job in the Cook County, which is the county in Chicago. And that was all set up through connections. So I had a no-show job. Somebody punched in and out for me, and I worked at the warehouse. It's a very rare way that I came through the pipeline, as they call it.
That's insane that you hit it for them that long, or was able to
I hit
keep
the
it
freaking lotto when I was 18. What are you kidding me? Let's not bullshit each other.
But when you're humble and you are a gentleman, good things will come to you. Doesn't mean it's going to end well, because none of it does. But while you're involved in it, as long as you're a gentleman and do the right thing, and you're not nickel and diming people, and they don't catch you as a liar, you're going to get good opportunities, because it's hard to find good stock. It's very difficult to find good stock. So when they find good stock, they wet your beak a little bit. They'll give you 2 or 3 players. You can hold the action, but the rest of the action comes to us. So things like that happen when you are a gentleman. So
Yeah.
You know what, Tommy? I saw another guy that I was worked with. He was about 50 years old, but he was a hardcore bookmaker,
Yeah.
still in the warehouse, but with a side operation. He had about, since he was he knew a lot of the old timers also more than I did. He had about 15 personal guys, but
Nice.
he also had, but it's because it was part of his pay.
Nice.
There were guys that he brought in, and he had seniority. Plus, it helped. He was 100% Sicilian.
Yeah. So,
Don't let
Adrian,
that.
let me explain something to you how some of that might work real quick if you
Yeah,
want me
yeah,
to
yeah,
do it. So
absolutely.
let's say
Yeah,
you get
absolutely.
two or three guys that they give you that you can hold the action on. So what happens is your other 20, 40, or 70 guys, you're making money off of them. You're making you're making your share off of that. Now, if you're smart and you're not a degenerate, you're holding what you make on your regular package to cover a slim chance possible loss on those three hitting you.
Yeah.
If you do it right, you can hold that cash. Let's just say it's 10,000. It's just a fake number. You hold that 10,000 on your package that you made in your commission, and you hold it for your three players. So if they hit you for that 10,000, at least they're not going to, but at least you're ready for it. And then whatever comes in off of that, it's gravy money. It's extra.
Damn.
You know what?
So Adrian, you're going to learn a lot of different things as we do this week after week out, however you want to do this. You're going to learn a lot of nuts and bolts as what you want to do with what we're doing right now. There's a lot of intricacies. There's a lot of nuts and bolts that go on in this.
Yeah.
And you can learn that. People can learn. And when you can learn it from guys that are not embellishing, have nothing to prove, and just here to enjoy it and talk about their story. And John, you may co-sign this. It's somewhat therapeutic for us to talk about this stuff.
Oh, it definitely is. We like to get out of our system. I'm glad my daughters know what their father did.
Yeah.
Hey, their father was it's sports booking,
Yeah.
it's bookmaking,
Yeah.
it's sports betting,
Yep.
it's advertised on TV. My daughters do not look as I was doing anything wrong, but I said, unfortunately, girls, when I did it, it was illegal. And that's what we did. Hey, man, we're bookmakers.
Yes.
But then again, we didn't
But-
rat on people. I mean, like Tommy said, the most important thing, you got three, what I call, and you call the same way on the East Coast, solid guys.
Yeah.
We're all solid guys. We live good lives now.
Yeah.
I got my grandson,
Yeah.
who lives with
You'll
me.
be there.
It's beautiful. Like they say, beautiful.
You'll be there.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. I'm going to come and work for you, Tommy. I'm not stupid. You're blowing up, brother. You need a leg man up there.
Oh my God.
What time should I drive up? Now?
Yeah, right now. Go. No, so you guys bring up, it wasn't a whole criminal, like it's not looked at as criminal right now. But I mean, back when you were doing it, you guys were, represented by a certain family. And then how did they treat you as, like, the guys in that organization? I mean, you had made men, you had capos, underbosses, and bosses, but the bookies or the associates and then the bookies. I mean, what was the rank and what did you guys think?
I'll let Tommy answer that first.
Go ahead.
No, all right. Here's the thing. As a Greek, the question should be reversed. How did I treat and respect them? Like the gentleman that I am, and gave them the respect they deserved. These guys came up the freaking hard way, and I will never get in their way. I knew my position as a bookmaker, and that was it. Capiche? There was no yes sir, no sir. But in turn, as long as we earned the office as a group, as long as we earned, they treated us well too. There were bonuses involved,
Sure.
Glengarry Glen Ross. I get the Cadillac. No, I mean, but there were bonuses, but you treated these men with respect because they earned it. They deserved it.
Absolutely.
But I'll let Tommy.
That's a good question. They respected those that earned the respect. So they would know I'm not a shyster, degenerate gambler, and you would get the respect accordingly. When they see a guy that they know is nickel and diming, he's got 50 guys gambling with him, and he don't have $1. There's something wrong. There's something wrong. So that guy's not going to get the same type of, I guess you could call it, respect as someone who is on the up and up and comes in, so to speak, to work every day, ready to do it. Not ready to do it to cover his gambling debt. ready to do it for the crew, for the organization, for the group, that's where you get respect. And those are the people that eventually do grow from within. It's the knockaround guys that are just on their last dime, degenerate gamblers they can't get ahead. So they can't be trusted. They can't be trusted. They have an issue. They have an addiction, so to speak. They have an addiction. And there's a different mentality that goes along with that. So they're not going to get elevated. They're going to get used, and they're going to get tossed out eventually. It does not end well. It ends well for nobody, but for those guys, those shyster types that have that finagle way about them, they don't get the respect. And I've seen it, and you see it firsthand with your own eyes, how they are treated versus guys that are doing it right are treated. It's very interesting, and that's a great question, Adrian.
That was a great question. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it really,
so true, Tommy. You stated very well. You know.
Yeah, you did.
Yeah.
I mean, because you think about it in any
it's
workplace.
real freaking life.
That's with any workplace, I suppose.
The whole show on the degenerate gamblers we've dealt with. I mean, that's a whole show in itself, Adrian.
Yeah, no, I would imagine. And another thing I wanted to bring up as well is like it's kind of like a follow-up. I mean, the guys, now that Tommy had said, the ones that were doing good, would they give these guys opportunities to say, hey, you want to become associate and start doing different kind of work for us? Or did certain guys just want to say, hey, I'm good, I want to just be a bookie?
I see some guys from Tommy. I just from what I've seen, I did not take that path, Adrian. But from what I've seen, promising guys, smart guys, tough guys. Back in the day, in the mid '80s to the mid '90s in Chicago, were in need. There was an organization. They were serious businessmen, and there was always a need for what was called. I don't know everything about it, but I know the term soldier, and you could always use a good soldier on your team, even a good player. This was a team, and they were always looking. They tried guys out. Some guys made the tryout, some guys didn't.
I would personally say you're better off being an associate than anything else.
Yeah.
Just why is that? Expand on that.
Do your business. You're kind of on record, but you're not obligated to a captain. It's better. Being a guy is not a good thing. It's not a good thing. It's not good at all.
Well,
and people may aspire to be that, but things change when that happens. You're held responsible at that point for a lot more than you are being an associate. I would, in my opinion, there was a better gene pool back then, obviously, than there is today. But we know this. But I would say that you do much better as an associate. Speaking from experience, So
yeah,
it's got to be one of the greatest lines you'll ever see on YouTube or television or anything. The gene pool. There was a better gene pool back then. Boy, isn't that the truth? We come from Tommy's cut from a different cloth. But that was another good question, Adrian. Now we've given you 5 separate topics that we can have 5 series, 5 shows on. But the similarities are unbelievable, Tommy. I mean, this was really enjoyable.
Great.
No, I know we're at that 30-minute mark, but again, we'll do another one.
Sure.
Hopefully Chicky will join us that time, but whatever, maybe we might find more guys too. But we covered some ground today. We covered just the beginning. I think now to get everybody familiar with, this is what a bookmaker is, and this is what it entails, and these are where Tommy and John were from. I mean, we really gave a whole insight on the background of everything, so we can go into.
Can I throw one thing in there, Adrian? I don't mean to interrupt. Hey, Tommy, people can follow you on Twitter at Tommy Stigs, right?
I should start using it more. No, I don't.
You should. You got you're following 26 people. Follow me. And then, it's a good platform. It really is. In the meantime, Adrian, Tommy and I might be willing. We haven't talked about it, but we might be willing on some upcoming shows to give out some secrets of sports betting that we might know. As long as people hit that subscribe button on not only your YouTube channel, but Tommy's YouTube channel.
Yep. And I'll put
there's
that in
some
the
secrets that we
description.
might, because everybody wants to win, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
We might just have some secrets.
So I think you're going to have something good here, Adrian. You got guys that aren't going to embellish. No bullshit here. We have nothing to prove, and we don't have any big goals. Our goals probably are to help a guy like you get a nice channel, and we get to enjoy telling our story and hanging out, so to speak, in the social club and talking about this stuff.
Yeah, with all the other bookies that live that life. No, I appreciate you guys,
my friend.
They're out there.
No, I appreciate you guys coming on, John. Of course, I'll put your Twitter in the video description, and Tommy, your channel will be in there too. So thank you everyone for watching, and look out for part 2.
All right, guys.
Take care, guys.